Shortly after the interview ended, most of the representatives from the small foreign countries immediately bid their farewell, taking all their jotted notes and documents with them. They urgently desired to return to their countries and inform their leaders and rulers and, at the same time, hoped to persuade them to join the United Nations quickly. On the other hand, most of the representatives from the Divine League and Freedom Federation remained behind. Only one or two from each side were sent back to report the information. The rest stayed back in hopes of getting Henrietta to agree to a cultural exchange. They wanted to learn more about the Black Rose Empire under the excuse that they could use its strength to persuade their leaders to view the United Nations favorably. In truth, they were just hoping to fish for knowledge that could be used against the Black Rose Empire. Although Henrietta was aware of their ulterior motives, she still agreed to their stay and even arranged their accommodations and hospitality. Unless they were loyal to death for their countries, she was confident that her country's rapidly developing environment would sway their hearts and change their minds. After all, the Black Rose Empire and the United Nations had access to far more knowledge and resources than the rest of Pangaea could ever have imagined. The quality of life was constantly improved, and the overall strength of the people was also rising. Even innovative applications of existing resources and products were being researched. Since our foreign guests are interested in staying to learn more about our country, I will take this chance to introduce a new product we have been researching. Following Henrietta's introduction, she took out a fluorescent green bead that was coated in a soluble, transparent, glass-like candy layer. Its clear surface also revealed tiny, blue runic lines that emitted faint traces of mana. Your Majesty, this is... The foreign guests' gazes were immediately drawn to the green pill. They all sensed some sort of unfamiliar yet familiar vital force in it. This is currently what one of our outer space research teams is researching. We call this a spirit pill. Although it's still a flawed product, it's able to contain spirit energy and allow the consumer to absorb it at a 50% loss rate. Spirit energy. After listening to Henrietta's explanation, the foreign guests immediately exclaimed with shock and surprise. Even Emperor Varen's eyes lit up with excitement. A week ago, he visited the space station and experienced the benefits of spirit energy. Since then, he has been... As such, it was a pleasant surprise to see the spirit pill not losing its spirit energy. Energy. This spirit pill contains 20 units of spirit energy. Considering its 50% energy loss rate upon consumption, the consumer will only gain 10 units of spirit energy. However, that is enough for the consumer to become a cultivator. With 3 of these spirit pills, even the most ordinary person can become a rank 1 cultivator. With 10 spirit pills, they can even reach rank 2. Your Majesty, are you planning to sell spirit pills to other countries? The foreign guests became even more eager and excited to learn what Henrietta's intention was for revealing the spirit pill. Although it seemed obvious, someone couldn't help but ask immediately. That's right. We do intend to sell the spirit pill, Henrietta nodded before saying, however, since production and resources are limited, we will only be selling the spirit pills to members of our United Nations. Non-members can only wait until an opportunity arises, Henrietta stated. Though that was what she said, spirit pills would undoubtedly be in high demand. As such, the UN market would be in a constant state of high demand but not enough supply. Unless the production of spirit pills became saturated, it would never enter the markets of foreign countries outside of the UN. Can't we help you mass produce it, Your Majesty? My country definitely has enough manpower and resources to expand its production, a Freedom Federation representative excitedly offered. However, everyone else became startled before looking at him like they were looking at an idiot. It didn't matter how much manpower and resources the Freedom Federation had. The spirit pill was developed in outer space, and there was only one heaven reacher in the Black Rose Empire. There weren't even enough slots to send all of its own people up, so why would the Black Rose Empire look for the Freedom Federation for help in expanding its spirit pill production? Did it lack talent? Definitely not. There were tens of millions of witches in the Black Rose Empire waiting to enter the Sea of Stars. Every one of them had in-depth knowledge of magic and standard control of mana. Did the Freedom Federation have that as well? Considering the scarcity of mana in the southern half of the Pangaea continent, it was questionable if the Freedom Federation had more than 100,000 awakened witches, let alone 1,000,000. Since the Freedom Federation actually had little to offer, what the hell did the Black Rose Empire need it for? Idiot, Emperor Vaan sneered. If the Black Rose Empire were truly looking for business partners to expand the spirit pill production, his great Rathalos Empire would be the first to volunteer. What kind of shit was the Freedom Federation? It better queue in line properly. The Freedom Federation representative's face quickly flushed with embarrassment after realizing he had spoken out of turn. Even if the Freedom Federation had the desire to partner up with the Black Rose Empire, it wouldn't be his choice to make on its behalf. He was only responsible for collecting information and reporting everything back. Only the president could make such a choice. Director Gardner would never expect that after his surprising decision to return and report to the president personally, the new leader of the Freedom Federation representative group would embarrass them as such. Of course, that was something he would only find out at a much later date. Director Gardner gave up staying back to negotiate with Henrietta because he understood the Freedom Federation wasn't in a position to deal with the Black Rose Empire on equal terms. The Freedom Federation's magitech industry may have boosted its influence to the peak of its time, but it was still nothing compared to the Black Rose Empire's potential. He speculated that if nothing were done to change the status quo, the entire continent would be under the Black Rose Empire's control in under a year. That was how quickly the Black Rose Empire was developing. Of course, the Black Rose Empire was already an untouchable existence if he factored in Von Rathna and the Red Dragon clan. It took Director Gardner 3 days to return to Freedom Federation with the help of a space attribute which from the Great House of Caelestis, which had recently started a fast travel service via its spatial magic. At the same time, the Great House of Caelestis had also relocated its headquarters to a free plot of land on the western outskirts of Sun Peak City. Of course, the reclusive Great House of Caelestis going public attracted great attention from the world. As such, President Hugo learned about Vaan's familial background after some research was conducted to understand the reason behind the Great House of Caelestis' big movement. He never imagined the rising overlord was actually his distant cousin. Freedom Federation, Steelcore Royal Capital. Inside the presidential office, Director Gardner had just finished recounting everything he learned on his trip to the Black Rose Empire. After President Hugo learned what had transpired at the public interview, he fell silent. Only the rhythmic tapping on the desk with his finger could be heard as he entered deep thoughts. Although he found out Vaan Rafna was his distant cousin, he also knew this familial relationship couldn't be used to fish for benefits from the Black Rose Empire. Neither Vaan Rafna nor President Hugo was close to the Great House of Caelestis. After all, Vaan Rafna was an orphan who grew up fending for himself outside of the Great House of Caelestis. On the other hand, President Hugo was part of the Great Weissman family, one of 5 ancient families with a secret bloodline heritage related to the Golden Dragon Pangaea. President Hugo felt a little pity for the Great House of Caelestis. If the world knew about the Great House of Caelestis' extensive connection over the Black Rose Empire and Freedom Federation, everyone would be shocked. However, the Great House of Caelestis itself held no political authority in any of these 2 countries. Nevertheless, President Hugo quickly forgot about the Great House of Caelestis and moved on to more important matters. He had learned much from Director Gardner's information. What is your opinion on this matter, Director Gardner? Is it still the same as before your trip? President Hugo glanced at Director Gardner thoughtfully, thinking the person's mentality had changed greatly after one trip to the north. Sure enough, Director Gardner, who had lost his confidence, sighed sadly before shaking his head. I'm afraid not, President. The Freedom Federation cannot keep up with the UN's monstrous growth. Even if we want to enter a fair alliance, the Black Rose Empire does not need us. It knows we are not equal. That is why Empress Henrietta delayed our meeting. Even if you met her personally, the negotiation won't go anywhere. To the Black Rose Empire, an alliance is a burden. It only wants obedient subordinates, not a friend. Oh. Then what do you propose we should do now, Director Gardner? If the Freedom Federation still wishes to make a comeback and reclaim our dominance, our only hope lies in the remnants of the ancient supercivilization on Pangaea. The remnants of the ancient supercivilization on Pangaea, huh? That's right, President. The UN suspects the remnants of the ancient supercivilization are hidden somewhere in our world, monopolizing all the spirit energy that life is supposed to produce. If we can ally with such a powerful hidden civilization, the Freedom Federation might be able to turn the situation. However, this option has a huge risk and no clear indication of success. Although Director Gardner proposed a new idea, it was the same as not suggesting anything. We don't even know if this ancient supercivilization is a human civilization, not to mention its ideology and attitude to others. Without this basic information, blindly allying with it might be worse than joining the UN. Yes, President. That is why I said it is a big risk with no indication of success. President Hugo tapped on his desk again while he was thinking. It was a habit of his whenever he was thinking deeply. May I say something, President? Secretary Foster suddenly requested. Oh. President Hugo immediately turned to his female secretary with a pleasant smile and asked, "What do you have to say, Secretary Foster?" While blindly reaching out to the remnant supercivilization for an alliance is very bad, looking for it in itself is not a bad idea, Secretary Foster stated. At least, if we find the remnant supercivilization, we might be able to determine if it is a threat or not. If it is a threat or hostile to humans, discovering this ticking time bomb sooner is always better than later. However, it would be best if this remnant supercivilization is already a dead civilization. That way, if we discover its hidden location, we can take all of its resources and technology for ourselves. Wouldn't that be the ideal situation? We can make the Freedom Federation stronger without making the UN our enemy, Secretary Foster asked. President Hugo and Director Gardner couldn't help but feel impressed by her thinking, even though there was a low chance of finding the remnant supercivilization. That would be the ideal situation. However, where do we even look to find it? Most of Pangaea's land had been explored, while the ocean depths are too dangerous to reach. President Hugo calmly mentioned. That might be the case, Secretary Foster acknowledged before saying, however, you can try investing in Bluefin Marine Research Tower, President Hugo. I heard that before it gave up its project due to a lack of funding, it was researching a large, durable submersible ship that could explore the ocean floor and resist powerful sea monsters. Please summon the director of the Bluefin Marine Research Tower to my office as soon as possible, Secretary Foster. Yes, sir. Shortly after Secretary Foster left the presidential office to arrange a summoning notice for the director of the Bluefin Marine Research Tower, President Hugo turned to Director Gardner. In your opinion, do you prefer the remnant supercivilization to be alive or dead, Director Gardner? President Hugo asked. Is that even a question? Of course, I would prefer it to a dead civilization. What good would such a powerful supercivilization do for us if it was still alive? Director Gardner responded. Just like Secretary Foster said, if the remnant supercivilization is dead, its resource and technology would be ours for the taking once we find it. However, that isn't as important as the potential threat it poses if it is alive. After all, this remnant supercivilization might be the one behind Pangea's absence of spirit energy. Would it take kindly to the Black Rose Empire's aggressive spirit energy production in their pursuit of space exploration and colonization? If we are looking at a non-human ancient supercivilization, the entire human race will be implicated once it emerges and points its sword at the Black Rose Empire. That's true. President Hugo couldn't help but agree with Director Gardner's reasonable perspective regarding the remnant supercivilization. There was a very high chance that the Black Rose Empire's spirit energy production would force the remnant supercivilization to emerge from their seclusion and start a war on the world. If that happened, would they even be able to withstand the remnant supercivilization's wrath? Since the Black Rose Empire suspected the remnant supercivilization was behind the spirit energy disappearance, there was no way it didn't consider their retaliation for bringing spirit energy back. Was the Black Rose Empire purposely using spirit energy as bait to lure out the remnant supercivilization as well? President Hugo couldn't help but sweat. Pangea could be destroyed by the war between the Black Rose Empire and the ancient super-civilization long before the outer beings arrived. The future certainly looked grim for humanity. No matter which side the Freedom Federation stood on, the world was bound to experience a rocky storm. Ever since a stable route to the moon base had been established, witches and dragons have both experienced rapid improvement. Thousands of peak-stage senior witches may have achieved a breakthrough to the high witch rank, but the Black Rose Empire had also welcomed new transcendent witches. Besides Henrietta's breakthrough to the late-stage transcendent witch rank, Aliana and Astoria had both made smooth transitions to the early-stage transcendent witch rank. Hester had also returned to the group as a transcendent witch after being away for months. However, she did not achieve her advancement with the help of pure mana. Instead, she had been holed up in the Red Dragon clan, relying on dragon magic to help her overcome every bottleneck with brute force and sheer will. Even though she had relied on dragon magic, she was still the first witch to achieve transcendence on Pangea outside of the 7 original transcendent witches, a feat that was deemed almost impossible to achieve. Nevertheless, the forceful breakthroughs in the past 2 months had made her cultivation unstable and her mental state vulnerable. Thus, she was sent to the moon's core region to recover under the blessing of pure mana. Besides the advancement of the witches, the members of the Red Dragon clan were also impressive under the miraculous effects of pure mana. Hundreds of rank 4 Red Dragons, both senior and junior generations, had advanced to rank 5, becoming transcendent rank Red Dragons. 8 out of the 9 Dragon Lords had all advanced to the mid-stage demigod level, with Lord Astaroth being the closest to reaching the late-stage demigod level. None of them could even believe their own rate of growth. They felt like their weeks of slaving away on multiple big projects had also refined their control and mastery of magic, allowing the flow of pure mana inside their bodies to be especially smooth. That said, it was Lord Narvim who had made the most improvements out of all the Dragon Lords. He had been the weakest Dragon Lord due to the side effects of a forbidden spell he used in the past. He was stuck at the early stage transcendent rank while everyone else had been peak stage transcendence. However, the pure mana of the subterranean region had actually given him a meteoric rise to the early stage demigod level. Although he was still the weakest Dragon Lord, it was also undeniable that the gap in strength between him and the other Dragon Lords had grown smaller. His wife, Khaleesi, had been the most happy for him. Unfortunately, their happiness was short-lived. They had become deeply concerned about Inauz. Within the last 3 days, Inauz had also returned to the subterranean region to achieve her breakthrough to the transcendent witch rank and, indeed, the aura of transcendence had surrounded her body on the first day. However, they both felt something was wrong when Inauz failed to awaken from her meditation, even after 2 days had passed. Since Inauz's body lacked the circulation of mana, Lord Narvim and Lady Khaleesi both knew she wasn't cultivating. Instead, she appeared to have fallen into a deep sleep that she could not wake up from while she was still seated in meditation. Her occasional grimace also suggested she was experiencing unpleasant nightmares in her dreams. Whether it was Aliana, Astoria, or Hester, none of them had experienced such symptoms during their transcendence. As such, there was definitely a problem with Inauz despite it being a success. "How is it, Khaleesi? Did you find out what is wrong with our daughter and why she can't wake up?" Lord Narvim quickly inquired after his wife finished her regular checkup. However, Khaleesi shook her head sadly. "I don't know the exact details, but it seems to be some sort of conflict within her soul." Khaleesi frowned before saying, "I only hope it's not an unknown detrimental side effect of your forbidden spell that we don't know about." "The side effects of the forbidden spell should only be limited to me. It shouldn't have affected our daughter's soul," Lord Narvim replied unconfidently. Khaleesi glared at him and said, "You better hope not. Otherwise, I will never forgive you if something happens to our daughter because of it." I understand." Lord Narvim started sweating under his wife's fierce gaze. A crimson sea of stars stretched across the endless expanse, high beyond a drunken sky, too dissolute in its infinite gloom of drifting dark clouds that blotted out its grand visage, making it rarely seen and appreciated in all its splendor and beauty. On the earth far beneath, towering rock mountains covered the vast desolate land, oppressed by darkness, protecting it with their enormous presence and aimed defiant spears at the sad sky with their jagged peaks. The cold winds howled like screaming banshees as if manifesting the conflict and tension between heaven and earth. A winged ruler of the skies soared over the suppressed yet proud rocky peaks, revisiting the same familiar and unfamiliar scenes on a seemingly never-ending loop. Inauz did not know for what reason her consciousness was brought into this world, but she had lost count of how many times she had watched the same scenes unfold on repeat. In this strange dreamland, she had no control and no body of her own. She could only be a silent spectator and see the world through the eyes of the winged creature, a red dragon that shared some resemblance to her dragonification form. Is this a memory of another life? Inauz suspected. Nevertheless, she continued to watch the red dragon soar over the endless mountains, seemingly in search of something hidden in the depths of the darkness. Eventually, the scene finally changed with a single mighty dragon roar. The vast mountain peaks trembled, and the screeching winds went eerily silent, seemingly withdrawing all sounds from the region. Only the oppressive darkness of a mountain peak spread and rose as earth and shadows were chipped off like rolling waves and sinking quicksand, revealing the finer details of it. An angry face was shortly discovered on the colossal mountain as it stood up like an erected stone pillar that could pierce into the heavens. Insolent dragon! How dare you trespass on this lord's territory and disturb his slumber? Your crime will not go unpaid. Leave your life behind this lord. The furious colossal titan grabbed at the red dragon with its enormous hand. Although the earthen arm moved slowly, it was large enough to cover huge distances in a short time. It caught the red dragon and pinned it to the ground heavily. The earthen surface ruptured instantly, sending out ripples of seismic shock. However, the red dragon was not found under the colossal titan's palm after it was raised. Bam! A strong force suddenly struck the colossal titan's left cheek, staggering its rigid body and knocking it off balance. The colossal titan fell over and slammed into the ground, followed by countless tremors. Mountain King, you are a tyrannical and irresponsible ruler. You have poorly governed your land and destroyed many innocent villages in this region. Today, I shall slay you on behalf of justice for the deceased. Audacious! How dare a mere rank 4 mortal being challenge this lord? You are overestimating yourself, dragon. The battle between a peak-level rank 4 red dragon and a low-level rank 5 colossal titan raged on for 3 days. Although the colossal titan possessed divine strength due to its massive body, it was also very brittle. After being repeatedly chipped away, it was ultimately destroyed by the red dragon. Even so, it wasn't an easy fight. In fact, it was very tough. The red dragon stepped on the colossal titan's shattered head and roared to the sky as if to celebrate its hard-earned victory. Watching up to this point, Inauz didn't find anything wrong until she felt like her field of vision was suddenly distorted. Moments later, an incomparably thin and sharp water blade flashed across the region without warning. The dragon's roar was cut short, and Inauz's field of vision began to rotate 180 degrees while falling to the ground. Darkness followed shortly after, robbing all of Inauz's eyesight. Only the instant pain of decapitation lingered, shaking Inauz up. She felt like she had experienced it before. The longer she observed the dream world, the more vivid and clear it became to her. What she was seeing was very likely a piece of memory from her past life as a red dragon. Despite realizing that, she didn't have much of a reaction since the past no longer had anything to do with her. Only her present life mattered. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but want to know who instantly decapitated her at the last moment. Alas, the attack had arrived so quickly and without warning that there wasn't much information to work with. However, there were at least some clues. Shortly after the decapitation happened, Inauz remembered hearing the annoyed voice of a woman saying a few things. Too noisy. Damn pest. I should have tortured it. My experimental subject is destroyed now. While waiting in the darkness for the scene to relive itself, Inauz suddenly noticed the memory fragment did not replay itself from the start again. I've regained my body? Inauz uttered with surprise. Having spectated through the eyes of the red dragon for so long, she didn't expect to regain her body and movements. However, she wasn't alone, as another copy of herself manifested in the darkness. It immediately glared at her, then pounced on her viciously. Give me back my body, thief. Someone like you should have never been born. This is my body. My body, I say. Inauz's copy had Inauz pinned under its body as it viciously pulled on her hair. Inauz struggled to break away from her copy but found out she only wielded the strength of an ordinary person, the same as her copy. Yet, it felt like her copy was even stronger than her. As such, Inauz was helplessly rooted under her clone as she struggled to fight it off her. Give me back my body, thief. What are you talking about? This is my body. You are the thief who copied my look. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Would a body thief look like this? Inauz's copy forced Inauz's head to turn and look at her reflection in a puddle it made appear. However, Inauz didn't see the face of her regained appearance in the dream world. Instead, it was the decapitated dragon. You are a body snatcher. I am the real one. You're wrong. I'm not a thief. This is my body. Although the copy's words made Inauz doubt herself, she still denied its claim. She wanted to believe her body belonged to her. Even if she was a dragon in her previous life, she was reborn in her current life's body without any prior memories of her past life. How could there be another soul for the body? When Inauz thought up to that point, she began to doubt her copy's existence. It wasn't real. It had to be a mental demon or something. You're just a fake. You are not real. Inauz wanted to believe. Previous index next. System Chapter 932, Waking Up. Within the world of memories, Inauz battled with her twin, both physically and verbally. Neither side was willing to back down despite having little to prove their legitimacy to the body. Inauz's twin was relentless, but Inauz was even more stubborn. Inauz knew that their physical and verbal fights were inconsequential. The real deciding factor of their victory was the strength of their wills. The one to lose faith in themselves and doubt their origin would be the one to be swallowed by the other party. A moment of weakness was all it would take to be lost forever. You say this is your body, but I bet you don't even know who you are. Nobody knows who you are or if you ever even existed. Inauz snapped back at her vengeful twin venomously. Surprisingly, her words struck her sore spot, causing her to show momentary weakness. You're wrong. Of course, I know who I am. I am the soul of this body. I was barely formed with a will before you came and robbed it from me. The life you lived was not your own but what should have been mine. Even the talent you wield belongs to me. You are but a foreign dragon of fire who has died and should have passed on long ago. What are you still clinging to life for? Don't you know how selfish you are? Why do you have to take my life away from me? Why? Although Inauz's twin showed a moment of weakness, she immediately retaliated with a fiercer argument. Inauz was stubborn, but she was still a person with feelings. She tried to deny her twin's existence because she thought it was just a mental demon conjured from the darkness in her heart to test her will. However, her twin's heartfelt expression of despair and loneliness planted a seed of doubt in her heart. As such, she also started to feel guilt and sympathy. I didn't ask for this, nor was I given a choice in this matter. I'm sorry if you feel wronged, but that's just how it is. If you feel sorry for me, then give me back my body. You didn't have a choice then, but you have a choice now. Furthermore, you have already used my body for several decades. It's time you return it to me. I do feel sorry for you, but I can't do that. Even if this isn't my body then, it is my body now. My life is also my own, not yours. Although Inauz and her twin seemed to have deepened their understanding of each other, they could not see eye to eye. Neither would ever agree to surrender their body. As such, they could only keep clashing with increasing intensity and violence. At the same time, the dark world was also changed according to clashing wills. Its endless fog of darkness was swept away by the brilliance of raging flames spewing out from Inauz's side. Half of the dream world was instantly transformed into a world of fire. On the other hand, her twin side possessed a world of earth. It was an endless stretch of land filled with rocky mountains and steep cliffs. As the two elemental worlds collided, the rocks pierced through the wall of flames while the fire scorched the earth. In that instance, the world in between became one that was full of scorched mountains and molten lava veins coursing down their towering heights. Although Inauz also tried to wield the earth element, nothing happened. Instead, she received her twin's contempt. Stupid. Earth is my original talent. Do you think you can steal it in my presence? So that is how it is. Inauz quickly understood and didn't feel ashamed. She continued to her twin seriously and calmly. Since the power of earth didn't listen to her, she fully relied on the power of fire. At the same time, she was wondering why her twin, who she had never known, would confront her now of all times and with so much willpower. Did the pure mana nourish her? Inauz felt like this was the only reasonable explanation for her twin's sudden emergence after her transcendence. Nevertheless, as Inauz fought with her twin, it felt like she was fighting her mirror image. Although they were using different elemental powers, their moves, spells, and even defenses were the same. They were evenly matched and couldn't gain any advantage over the other. Even though all their powers were just figments of imagination in the dream world, Inauz started to feel strange as she tried to pull out more power of fire to topple her twin. More memories of the decapitated dragon flowed into her mind. More importantly, there weren't any more gloomy scenes of hard-won battles and struggles for improvement. Instead, they were warm memories of a dragon family. Although her father was strict, there were no ill feelings of hatred or resentment for the tough treatment, only respect and adoration. She was proud to be the daughter of the most talented dragon lord in the clan. Even her mother was another dragon lord. As their child, it was only right for her to become as powerful and talented as them so she wouldn't bring them shame and stain their honor. Suddenly, Inauz's heart trembled as she realized her dragon parents from the previous life were Lord Narvim and Lady Khaleesi. She had always wondered why they would show her more care and concern than the rest of Vaan's women. It seemed it was because they had recognized her as their reincarnated child. All along. Inauz suddenly missed them and had an urge to see them immediately. However, she couldn't because she was trapped in this dream world, battling another will who desired to take over her body. Although time probably flowed differently in the dream world, 20 years still passed since she was trapped. Considering both sides were still stubborn in their ways, it was unknown when she would ever get out if the status quo persisted. Pang! Inauz suddenly stopped defending and got struck by an enormous rock pillar shooting her way. She was immediately slammed into the molten ground and buried underneath it. However, she didn't feel any pain, only a nudge to her mind. At the same time, Inauz's twin stopped attacking. She deeply frowned as she watched Inauz climb from underneath the towering rock pillar. Why did you stop fighting? Inauz's twin doubted. Why must we keep fighting? Inauz coolly responded before saying, while you and I seem to have conflicting opinions, I have come to learn that we share the same tastes. Everything I hate, you hate. Everything I like, you like, even my man. You are envious of what I have, as you believe it is rightfully yours. However, you have been mistaken from the start. Everything I have is also yours, and everything you have is also mine. Why must we draw a clear line between what is yours and what is mine? We are of one body, so why can't we also be of one mind? After Inauz finished speaking, her twin appeared to be dumbfounded as she froze on the spot. However, she also gained enlightenment after acknowledging her words. As a result, she felt all her pent-up resentment dissipating from her body like dispersing mists. It seems you have figured it all out, Inauz's twin smiled peacefully as she faded away along with the dream world crumbling. The solution had never been domination but acceptance and coexistence. Let's get along from now on, big sister. Inauz heard her twin's last words right before she finally opened her eyes to reality, greeted by two pairs of large, concerned dragon eyes. Previous index next. User. Lady Inauz, how are you feeling? Any discomfort anywhere? If you feel anything wrong with your body, please tell us immediately, Lord Narvam inquired, seemingly more anxious than when Inauz was unconscious. At his level, it was far too easy to inspect Inauz's condition and understand there was nothing wrong with her. As such, Khaleesi nudged him scoldingly before smiling back at Inauz. You've been sitting in meditation for 3 days straight after achieving transcendence in your cultivation. Are you feeling famished or thirsty? Should I fetch something for you to eat or drink, Lady Inauz? Khaleesi asked with care. Back when Inauz didn't know the two dragon lords were her past life's parents, she didn't think much about how they respectfully addressed her. However, now that she knew about it, her heart became stuffy and heavy. Their respect was far more than she deserved. They were her parents, the two people she looked up to and respected most in her past life. They should not have to treat her like they were beneath her. Inauz couldn't imagine how hard it was for her parents to live with the fact that they recognized their child but couldn't be acknowledged for it. The only thing they could do was watch over her. It must have been a helpless feeling. I do feel like a little thirsty, Inauz admitted with a reminiscing smile as she requested, can you make me the sweet berry punch drink? The one you used to make for me all the time when I was growing up? Of course. I'll get to it right away. Khaleesi happily agreed. However, just as Khaleesi excitedly took a few steps away, her whole body abruptly stopped like she had just been stunned by lightning. Narvam's body also stiffened on the spot. Only his eyes blinked a few times before his body trembled along with Khaleesi's. Khaleesi had never made the kid beverage for Inauz when she was young in her present life. When they had met in this life, she was already a grown human adult. As such, she had never been with Inauz in her childhood years, let alone seen her. It only happened in her previous life. Khaleesi turned her head back at Inauz, but not as fast as she had hoped. Her heart trembled with the fear of disappointment. She didn't want to get her hopes up. After all, it was extremely rare for those below true divinity to retain memories of their past life after entering the cycle of reincarnation. As for mortals who have not achieved the divine, it was practically impossible. However, Inauz wouldn't have known about the sweet berry punch drink she used to make for her unless she recovered memories of her past life. When Khaleesi saw Inauz's face, she noticed her eyes were already reddened. You don't want to anymore, Mama? With that single question, Khaleesi's heart burst with emotion. She cried with tears of happiness as she broke down before Inauz. Narvam stood proud as he kept watch, but silent tears also dripped down his long face, and his shoulder shuddered ever so slightly. As a male dragon, he shouldn't be as sentimental as female dragons. Even so, he couldn't fully contain his emotion. Did they deserve such happiness? How did such a miracle happen? My child. My good child. You have recovered, your memories? Khaleesi bawled with questions while holding herself back. If Inauz's human body weren't so small and fragile, she would have expressed her physical affection. Inauz nodded, choking on her own emotions. Khaleesi and Narvam couldn't help but thank the gods for allowing their family to have such a miraculous reunion. They were already content with watching over their daughter and were prepared to do so for the rest of their lives. Thus, they didn't expect to be blessed with such happiness. Meanwhile, Inauz felt that her other half feeling envious of their family reunion. She realized that she did not have any human parents because they became orphans at a young age. As such, while Inauz's twin didn't have any parents, Inauz still had hers from the previous life. Have you already forgotten what I said, little sister? We are of one mind and body. What is yours is also mine, and what is mine is also yours, they are also your parents. But do they even know about me? Inauz could immediately feel the depression and loneliness in her younger twin's response. Her younger twin had only been a speck of consciousness that experienced the world through her eyes and actions and had done nothing of her own choosing. As such, it would be weird if anyone knew about her. Then, I will introduce you. Wait. I'm not ready. Inauz's decisive choice made her younger twin panicked. However, it was already too late for her to be stopped. Mama. Papa. I have someone else to introduce to you. Actually, you still have a younger daughter, who is also my little sister. Alright, I've done my part. Go ahead and say hi. Narvam and Khaleesi were immediately baffled by Inauz's strange words. However, they soon noticed Inauz's change of aura to that of extreme timidness and anxiety. It was as if Inauz had suddenly become a different, introverted person. Meanwhile, Inauz's twin timidly glanced up at Narvam and Khaleesi with dread, guilt, and despair. Daughter. Would they accept her if they knew what she had tried to do? Khaleesi seemed to have seen through the younger twin's emotional state, and her maternal drive immediately kicked in. What should I call you, my child? Khaleesi asked with a warm gaze. I don't have a name. Of course, Inauz should be her name as well. However, having seen through a part of Inauz's past life memories, she understood the name, Inauz, was something she carried over to the present life through the strings of karma. That was why she said she didn't have a name. Then can I name you Esme, my child? It holds the meaning of, to be loved. I like it very much, ma. Good child. Esme felt very insecure when she called Inauz's mother rashly, but Khaleesi immediately reassured her with motherly warmth. Khaleesi had quickly accepted Esme despite her special circumstances. It was a happy occasion, and gaining another daughter would only make it joyous, not Anything else? Mama. Good child. Mama. You don't get praised often, do you? Good child, huh? Khaleesi was happy, but she couldn't match Esme's increasing enthusiasm. Her expression became increasingly strained and forced. At the same time, she began looking for a way out of the situation. Her gaze fell on Narvim, who silently stared at them with a foolish smile. Suddenly, Khaleesi felt the urge to hit him.